joined us, and I see that there are plenty of you in there. So thank you so much for jumping in and sharing the experience with us on this new platform. I really appreciate it. It's been interesting and but a little different. So I appreciate that you're all here trying it out with me. As you may or may not know, I'm Heather Clancy. I'm the editorial director with GreenBiz, and we're going to have a chat today about tracking traceability and transparency as it relates to the circular economy. First, I would like to point out to you, though, that we have a couple of features. As you found the chat box, we are going to have a survey pinned to the top of this chat box once the session is complete, or it might pop up during. And yeah, we'd love for you to fill that out. It's going to help us get a lot of feedback, and good and bad. Please share what's challenging for you and what's been really good for you. I know the networking has gotten a lot of raves. So this session is based on one of my favorite topics, which is how digital technologies, things like blockchain, near field communications, mobile phones, SMS messaging, can enable end-to-end transparency as well as a shift to a circular economy. Our experts today will discuss these issues in the context of two very specific projects. Jessie Baker, who is here with me, is the founder of the UK company Provenance, and she's going to focus on Dutch manufacturer, I think it's Auping. I don't know how, Auping. Forget how they pronounce their name, but Auping. They've got a program where they're mapping the journey of mattresses, a circular journey of mattresses, and this is an effort that has been enabled through a partnership with DSM-Niaga. And we will be joined as well by Ashish Gadnis. He's the co-founder and CEO of BankQ, and he will be talking about this same issue in the context of Anheuser-Busch's and AB InBev's initiative in Zambia and Uganda to catalog every touch point in their beer production process. So I asked each of them to make a brief sort of introductory elevator pitch, if you will, no more than 5 minutes. And in that, I asked them to consider the following. How does their company fit in the digital technology spectrum? How does the project in question use these issues, these abilities, tracking, traceability, and transparency in service of circularity? How does each member of the value chain benefit, so that from supplier to customer? What technologies were required to make this happen? And what have the results been so far? So I'm going to hand you the microphone, Jessie. Thank you. And I know you have some slides to share, which you'll sort out, but take it away.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Heather. Thanks for hosting this panel. Great. I'm going to give it a whirl, sharing my screen. Maybe, Heather, you could let me know working. Hopefully it is. Great to be here, though, everybody. So yeah, I'm Jessie, founder and CEO of Provenance. You guys all able to see my screen okay?
Yeah, we can. I can see it.
Perfect. Great. Well, I'll try and keep it to 5 minutes, but I thought it'd be nice to have a few visuals when I describe a bit what Provenance does. So we kind of do what we say on the tin, really, which is the provenance of products. Like, where do things come from? Who make them from what? And why? Because we believe that's the future of brand trust. Today, so much of what we buy is dependent on that little logo, that mark on the product, and everything that stands for. And for us, there's a big piece missing when it comes to understanding what's behind that logo, which is the impact and the supply chain behind products. So Provenance is really here to enable that to be more transparent. We're responding to a citizen need. So very much in answer to your question, Heather, we're very much sitting at kind of the end of the supply chain, working with brands who are looking to respond to a new type of consumer who are interested to hear more about sustainability and the impact behind the products they're buying. And a lot of what we see are brands that have made tremendous efforts in their supply chain, either through certification, B2B supply chain tools, or even sustainability CSR reports, working on the impact of their products in their supply chains and closer to home. And Provenance is really here to kind of join that gap. So our kind of purpose is about enabling brands to build trust through technology-powered transparency. And by transparency, we mean public transparency. So open information that sits in the public domain that anybody can access about the supply chain and the impact behind products. And we're really doing that for citizen benefit. I guess that we've assembled a team to enable that from such a range of backgrounds, all the different languages you need to be able to speak to be able to work on transparency. That's kind of supply chain, marketing and brand, technology and sustainability. And currently working with customers all over the world. And I'm going to dig into one particular example that's very relevant to the circular economy topic of this conference. So a little bit about how we work with brands before I go into that. So we follow a program which we call a transparency program. The first part of that is all about helping businesses understand the opportunities and their responsibilities when it comes to being more transparent. It's amazing how quickly the law is moving and regulation is moving in order to really stipulate that brands have to be more publicly transparent on their supply chains and their impact. But it's bigger than that. For us, we see a huge business opportunity that's much more linked to brand value, brand building, rather than just a kind of regulatory kind of necessity. So first phase is about that. And then we kind of dig into the platform. So Provenance runs a software service, a data platform that enables businesses to bring that information in from their supply chain and then publish it out the other side in order to engage their customers, and most importantly, to really measure and improve. So look at how people are interacting with their transparency. Is it meeting market standard? And then how can they go above and beyond and kind of work on that back in their supply chain in order to then be publicly transparent on the initiative later. So yeah, we're very much a platform designed for brands first and foremost, and working really with brand managers, marketing teams that are looking to get that information out publicly beyond kind of regulatory standards to build brands and beyond. So a little bit about how you might encounter Provenance out in the world before I dig into one such example. So you might come across Provenance on pack. So we have NFC tags, QR codes. They all say kind of powered by Provenance below. And then that experience will load up one of our various different experiences for helping you discover the journey and story behind the product. E-commerce, so you'll see us on product pages as little like capsules and plugins, but also powering transparency pages in company websites. Then retail and also campaigns, which is where brands often take the initiatives that they created through their off-pack and e-commerce experiences and ladder them up to like specific activations in store or through an online social media campaign or something like that. And then the fifth and kind of maybe actually the most important one is around B2B sales. So actually we're seeing much more emphasis placed on public information being accessible to retailers and brands that producers may be supplying. So there's a big commercial case that we see, which is really around buyers wanting to see more evidence of public transparency. But let's dig into a specific example looking at circular economy. So this is just using the classic Provenance platform, but this time we very much applied it to a product that is non-consumable. I should say upfront that the majority of the work we do at Provenance is consumable products. It's FMCG, it's things like coffee, canned tomatoes, canned fish, things like that, which of course have a packaging element where transparency can help, particularly educating the consumer for how to recycle that packaging. But this was an example of a kind of a smaller part of the Provenance business where we really focused on a very non-consumable product, a mattress. 18 million mattresses are thrown away every year in the United States alone, which is insane. You just see them all, not even necessarily making it over to landfill, just rotting in the street. So huge opportunity for circular economy. And I mean, you probably could say a girl or a guy's name and there'd be a mattress company that's been created under that name. So it's only growing, And so what we did here with two companies, so Niaga, a materials innovation company, and Royal Auping, which is a mattress sales company that has also worked with several other brands, such as the Bedsy brand here in Europe. So we helped them to create a digital passport. So essentially, every single mattress comes with a unique NFC tag with a unique ID imprinted into the mattress. And that's its record of birth. And it has all of its information related to every part of its creation. So you can see all of the different steps in the manufacture, the different types of materials that went into creating it. And all of them have been specifically designed for complete remanufacture. So complete disassembly, total remanufacture back into another mattress. So not downgraded to be turned into something different, downcycled in some way, shape or form, but actually to be remanufactured into a mattress again. And so, yeah, essentially this example is kind of fusing two purposes. So one is about educating consumers on circular materials. No, this isn't Austin Powers' mattress. It's actually a mattress designed to be remanufactured. So that whole kind of education piece for consumers, but then also there's a practical element, like seeing all of this manufacturing elements is very much designed in order to help with the remanufacturing. So the servicing of the mattress and also to help when the mattress is indeed sent back to the manufacturer to be turned into another mattress, like exactly what the materials were, who was the manufacturer at the time, what kinds of machines were used. So it's got that kind of dual element of the take back and the transparency for the manufacturer as well. But yeah, this is one of our sort of first forays into circular economy, and I'm excited to dig into this topic a little bit more.
Super. So I will just thank you for the introductory statements. I will say that Ashish has been trying to get on to our session and unfortunately is in a place where he has very low bandwidth and he's having an issue with that. So that's what's going on. He's been trying. And so we're going to keep talking. Hopefully he'll be able to join us, but I don't know what's going to happen. So Jesse, thank you for improvising with me here. Really appreciate it.
No problem. So I had a switch to hand, so I could help.
I know, it's just unfortunate. So did you bring a prop? Did you bring samples of the mattress?
Know, right?
No. So I want to dig into the consumer interaction that you mentioned. Sure. So you mentioned some of the information that can be shared. So what are they finding? What is being shared and what do people seem to be engaging with the most?
Yeah, no, I think it's tricky because a lot of the consumer data we look at is related to transparency in general. So like, are consumers interested in the supply chains, in the impact behind products? And there is great studies to suggest that they increasingly are. And there's been a lot of skepticism in the past that many consumers aren't interested in the supply chains or kind of what goes on behind products. But I think we're seeing some really encouraging data to suggest that isn't the case. However, with circularity, it's its own beast, right? Because consumers, it's not only about understanding, the backstory of the product. It's actually really understanding what circularity means. And I think we're still at the very beginning when it comes to that stuff. I think people have kind of got their head around recycling and kind of how much things can be recycled and things being made of recycled materials. Like that is firm in society. But I think this concept of circularity is a word that's used in lots of different ways. Yeah. It doesn't always mean circularity. And quite frankly, there's just not that many genuinely circular products, like genuinely ready to be remanufactured into the same thing again and again and again, or at least something of equal value. So I think there's some work to be done there. And I know there's great work. Ellen MacArthur Foundation have done some fab work, like putting together a standard so that people don't use that word quite so liberally. But yeah, there's still a long way to go on the consumer side, but I think we've got some great statistics to suggest that this is something consumers are looking for more and more.
So I want to dig a little bit more into the technology in a moment, but I'm just curious about the format of this mattress. Like, was there any change in the design of it at all? Like, was it a specific size? Was it the most popular size? What can you tell us about the product itself?
Yeah, so the passport really is like the little tiny cherry on the top of a very complex cake that Niaga and Auping have been working on for a very long time. So it's the kind of our bit was very relatively easy. Those guys have been working on really unique material designs and types of machines that could actually help create a mattress that could be recycled. Like we really take that for granted that a lot of all of the products we buy today are mostly designed for a linear manufacturing trajectory rather than something genuine. So they had done a huge amount of work in order to create, reversible glues and fasteners and things like that could really enable that remanufacturing. And then, being able to create a mattress that could indeed be used by most people. So I think they have made it available in a whole range of sizes. And I know they have looked to make sure they're not offering it just to the consumer market, but also to things like hotels and things like that, where I think there's such a huge potential, particularly for being able to service and repair mattresses, rather than having to necessarily like scrap them.
I'm monitoring. If you see me looking away, it's because I'm monitoring the chat here, and I do have a follow-up to
what's going on?
The demographic that you met. Yeah, thank you, everyone. It's really wonderful to see you're so engaged. What demographic of consumers were included in your 70% number that you mentioned before during your presentation? So, who do they look like? What do they look like?
Yes. So, I mean, there's some fantastic stats that are really encouraging, that really show kind of how the different generations of consumers are really placing very different emphasis on the types of things they care about when they go shopping. So I think we're seeing is something like 50% of like consumer goods growth from 2013 to 2018 came from sustainably marketed products. So we're seeing some very fast growth happening in the products that are sustainably marketed. However, that is really in line with kind of growth in spending power of the different types of consumer groups. So I think it's something like 30 or 34% of baby boomers or something are willing to change their habits to benefit the environment. 75% of millennials are willing to change their habits to benefit the environment. And and Gen Z is showing signs of being north of that. And it's great to see that we're seeing this shift in purchasing power coming towards Gen Zs. And I think, that stat I shared early on was very much looking at millennials and Gen Z, which is the majority of the work we do, is looking at those consumer groups with the brands we work with.
Okay. So let's talk about the technology. So what exactly makes this? What's really driving that information? What's picking it up? What did you need to do this?
Sure. Yeah. So, I guess just to go back a little bit, I started Provenance. I was doing it was my side project to my PhD. And my PhD was looking at uses for blockchain technology in supply chains, which I started back in 2012 when it was just Bitcoin. And could Bitcoin be used to track products was my original question. That whole technology, of course, has exploded. There are now many, many people using different types of blockchain technology in supply chains for various reasons. Provenance is very much focused its attention on proof of key pieces of information related to products. And so this mattress is using what we call proof points. So it proves certain elements of the mattress. So it's proving the circularity, and it's proving several other things like health benefits, like low VOCs, which is a nasty off gas that comes off a mattress. So it's got a lot of those proofs, and those proofs are exposed to the shopper when they scan the NFC tag, so they can see for absolute sure there's no screwing around. You can trust that this mattress is being manufactured in this way. It will be remanufactured, and you can see that proof. We're also issuing unique IDs that, again, sit on a blockchain for each individual mattress. That's not something we do super often. It doesn't really make huge amounts of sense if you've got like thousands and thousands of carats or whatever. But for something as expensive and long lasting as a mattress, issuing that unique ID, storing it on the blockchain, connecting it to the proofs, and then using that to re-authenticate the mattress when it's indeed returned or needs to be serviced. Makes a lot of sense. But we're sitting very much at kind of the end of the chain, at that interface between brand and consumer. I know if Ashish was here, he would be interested to also talk about going down the supply chain right to the beginning, and then how things like blockchain tech can actually move their way through the entire chain, which is often data we're interfacing with at Provenance. We started doing that field to plate style of traceability, but actually now we collaborate with a huge number of companies who have built internal traceability systems to pull the data out and help make that publicly trustworthy. How
are the consumers or anyone else for that matter actually reading the data? Is it QR code or?
Yeah, exactly. So we've kind of got like a hierarchy of how we present data at Provenance. And often people don't really want to delve into the extreme detail, but it's like an open kitchen. The fact that it's there gives you more reassurance than if it wasn't there. So we make the data accessible. If you want to keep clicking, you can dig all the way down and see exactly when it was manufactured and what factory with what materials if you really want to. but actually maybe all you really want to see are those top proof points. You want to know it's healthy for you. You want to know it's genuinely recyclable and it's actually going to be doing some good for the planet. And then if you want to dig down underneath, you can. Oh, and here he is.
He's here. Oh my goodness. Hi, Ashish. I am so sorry you had so many technical issues.
No problems.
No.
So one of them doesn't have to work, right?
Okay. Well, so I have to ask, I'm going to actually direct a question to you that came up in the chat, but it was something that I wanted to bring out in your presentation anyway, which is how, and Jesse just referenced it, how are you serving those at the very beginning of a supply chain and enabling them to, through these technologies, to participate more fully in a circular economy? You had talked to me about the sort of small farm holders. How are you using these technologies to really engage them in the chain?
So it's pretty straightforward and simple. So we have thousands of smallholder farmers in extreme poverty zones, and we have thousands of recyclers in urban cities, right, picking up plastic, paper. In both cases, what happens is we run a non-cryptocurrency blockchain as a software as a service platform that brands like AB InBev, Budweiser, Nestle, Japan Tobacco use. And the implementation is very simple. So the last mile farmer has just does not have to have a smartphone. To sell coffee or coffee, they get an message through our confirms the weight, the quality, and the payout. And because it is running blockchain, that all the connection points in the supply chain are certifying that trade, first and foremost, the mother cannot be cheated because a 40-kilo bar and moisture is visible in that secure chain. And when she gets that SMS message, she can sell it, or she can accept the payment either through M-Pesa. We don't use cryptocurrency. She can get it directly into a bank account. So what we've done really is we've kind of broken this myth around blockchain by saying that the mother can prove her existence in that supply chain, both on the ag side, also on the recycling side. Each transaction then builds her economic passport, which then allows her to get better access to credit, input financing, crop insurance if you're on the ag side. And if you're on the recycling side, you can prove, hey, I've been selling bottles to Bavaria, and this is my economic passport. I hope that answers your question.
And so people have been asking about that. The thing that many individuals often ask when we talk about this topic is, what about privacy? Who owns the data? What can be done with it? So can you address that a little bit?
Yeah, actually, that's one of the biggest benefits of our platform. People call us the anti-Facebook. We're live in 41 countries, over 500,000 people in the first mile, last mile use our platform. We don't solve some investors, and they don't invest in us. We're a for-profit, for-purpose company, because the way we laid out is that farmer has 4 key things: the ability to own their data, access their data, and permission their data. We as BankU are just the network. And the reason why we did this is, after I sold my last company, I spent 2 years in the DRC working with farmers, and the big coffee companies or chocolate companies will farmer, and in my humble opinion, they just outright lying, because when they pull out of the Congo, that mother can never prove her existence in the supply chain. So the way we built it is that mother now has her data that nobody can take away, and she can permit, say, I can prove my existence in the supply chain. It's like the Me Too movement.
We have a minute left. Yeah.
That answers the question.
We only have 1 minute left. Yeah. And so I want to ask, just in this moment, how could this technology help with the recovery? All right. So what we could learn in this moment that would help the circular economy, help the economy in general? We just have a moment left to let you answer that one question. So go ahead. Jesse, go first.
Jesse, go ahead.
Well, I'm hugely optimistic. I think we've done, 30 years worth of digital transformation in the last 5 months. And for me, that's the key, right? We need data and data that's actionable and that we can use in order to create a system for commerce that actually works and is actually for good. I think there's a lot of misleading terms. There's a lot of different clashing data. I think Ashish and I are on the same page. We need to create open infrastructure in order to enable collaboration across different platforms. But yeah, I think, we're accelerating at a rapid speed. And for me, we're at the beginning of the caring economy. And I can't wait for it to keep growing.
And Ashish, a couple of comments from you.
I would say just two quick things. I think that these technologies can be truly used for equitable distribution of COVID vaccinations, which is something we've forgotten completely. And two is to really strengthen the micro SMEs and the last mile in terms of their economic existence in these supply chains that are disrupted. That's kind of my hope in the next 3 to 6 months.
I'm so sorry that you couldn't be here the whole time. Thank you for getting here. Thank you everyone who participated. Yeah, and before you leave, just remember, take the survey, please. And with that, we're done. I'm sorry to say. So thank you, both of you, Jesse and Ashish. Thank you very much. Take care and enjoy the rest of your holiday, Jesse. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Heather. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Cheers.